So the first thing I had to do was to click on the Excel from the external data on my access table. Then I have to browse the wanted file, which is selected into my document, and it's called the Austin 1418 assignment 3 tutorials and other pieces of work. And this is the patient that I'm gonna add. Then after, I have to click on OK. Have to select the first row so you can view like the patient ID, patient name, patient surname, etc., gender, etc. Then I have to click on next because everything needs to be fine for the fill options. Then I have to click on next again, and then I have to click on finish. Patient is already open, and as you can see, my patient table is already here completed, which means that the exporting was a success. In this video, I will show you how I created my records for the patient table. The first thing I have to do was to add the patient ID. As you can see, it's from 1 to 14 so far, and I'm gonna add the last one, which is 1015. The patient first name has to be any name, like for example Mohsin. The patient last name could be any name as well, like Hussein. The patient gender has to be between male and female, and in this case Mohsin is a male name, so I'm gonna choose male. The first line address is the first line address of the patient, obviously, which would be Crooks Lane Road. The postcode has to contain capital letters and numbers. One second. Yeah, the borough has to be around Waltham Forest, and for this patient I can say his borough is Waltham Forest. The town is London, and the telephone number is the telephone number looks like that because it will be easier for the patient to spot any mistake within his number and change it if it's the case. The emergency contact first name is the person that can be contacted if something happens to the patient, like Adil Hussein could be the first name, and Hussein could be the last name for the emergency user. Then this could be the user's telephone number, and this is for the fields. In this video, I will show you how I created my doctor table, and to start with, I would like to introduce the first field name I had to add in this was the doctor ID. The next one was the doctor first name. The next one was the doctor surname, so any user would be able to know what the doctor's first name and surname is, like the contact details as well and other stuff. The doctor first line address is another important field for this table because it will allow the users to see where the doctor lives for if there is an emergency. The next one would be the doctor postcode. The doctor borough will be also really important because it will tell the users, like the hospital, where the user lives, where the doctor lives, and they can contact him. The next one would be the doctor mobile number, so the hospital or wherever the doctor works could contact the doctor through his mobile number. And then last one could be the doctor gender, which is another important field because it allows the user to see if the doctor is a male or a female, if they have preferences. The next thing I would like to show you will be how I managed to save all my details and create the first record. One of the first thing I have to do was to add the doctor ID, which could be any number, like 2. The first name could be Ali or whatever the doctor's name is. Then the third field would be the doctor's surname, which could be any surname like Hussein. The doctor's first name could be 12 Cummins Road. Next one would be the postcode 960B. The next one could be has to be the borough, which would be the most common one, which is Waltham Forest. The next one would be the doctor's telephone number. and the last one will be the gender, which could be or female or whatever. And this is how I create the doctor table and the doctor. In this video, I'll show you how I set up the data consistency within my table. The first data consistency I will use was the validation rule. And this validation rule has been set up to my patient gender. Now, as I will show you in the following example, the patient gender. This is how the validation rule has been set up to the patient data type. You can see it says is null or M or F, which means that the value set to M, capital M or F, and this means that the user will only be able to select M or F and no other options such as female with small letters or male with small letters. And I'll show you that the validation rule has been set up correctly to the gender. This shows you that for the patient gender, the user will be only able to select M or F, no other option, which proves you that the validation rule has been set up correctly to my patient gender. Now let's move to the next data consistency, which is the input mask, and I set it up for the telephone number. As you can, I'll show you in the following example. This is how the input mask looks like here, and then I have to click right here to change it. This shows you that the input mask is for the phone number, and this is how the data will look like after I will make the changes. Yes, I would prefer to select the option which says with the symbols in the mask. This is how I would like to store the data, because it will be easier for the patient to spot the errors if there is the case for them to misspell one number for their phone number. And then I just click on next, and the process finished. Now I'll be able to test if the input mask has been set up correctly to my patient telephone number. This is an example how the telephone number looks like for the patients, 0794301, and you can see that it's easier for them to check then if the numbers are correct, as there are spaces between them. And also this shows you that the input mask has been set up correctly. And now I'll move to the next data consistency, which is the drop down. And I set up the drop down menu for the patient gender again, because it was the easier drop down I could do. This shows you how I've done it. I'll have to select the data type, which is lookup wizard, then select the option which says I would like to type in the values, then click on next, and then I just type in the values I want to, which is M and F, then click on next, and then just finish, and the process worked. And now I'll be able to see if the patient gender allows the user to select the option from a drop down menu. This shows you that the selection is from a drop down menu or list, which shows you that the drop down has been set up correctly to the patient gender through lookup wizard. The next one will be the visual prompt. The next data consistency is the visual prompt, which is also known as a validation text, and this has been done for my postcode number. And as you can see here, it says please add numbers in capital letters only. Nothing else should be applied to it, so the user should be only able to type in numbers in capital letters, but he will not be able to type in symbols or any other options. And I'll show you how the message will be displayed with symbols. As you can see here, there is a visual prompt, which is a validation, also known as a validation text, and it says please add numbers in capital letters only, and the user has to click on OK in order to retype in the postcode number. It could be EG FSC. As you can see now, the postcode was right, and it allowed the user to move to the next field. And these are all my data consistency I use within my table for the other tables as well, such as the doctor, the room, and the staff, but all of them are the same and they are linked to the patients. In the following video, I'll show you how is the relationship to connect my tables together, and also I'll show you how is the referential integrity within my table. So let's start. The first thing I have to do was to select the database tools, then select the relationships, and this shows you how the relationship between my patient, doctor, room and staff look like. All the primary keys are connected together, as you can see, and this shows you how I edit the relationships basically, and how all the relationships are connected to each other's primary key. Then I'll show you how I've done the referential integrity, and this shows you how I enforce the referential integrity within the staff and the patient. And now the staff and the patients are connected together and they have the referential integrity set up. In this section of my video, I will explain all the complete tables that I've done, and also I will explain the consistencies that I used throughout them. The first table I completed was the patient table, which consists the patient ID from 1001 to 10015, the patient names, last names, gender, postcode, borough, town, telephone, emergency contact name, so someone could be contacted if something happens to the patient, his last name, and also his telephone number. The next table I completed is the staff table, where I have to include an ID, a staff first name, staff surname, staff first line address, postcode, borough, mobile number, and also gender. The next one was the doctor, where I have to complete doctor ID from 2 to 15. The next one was the doctor first name, doctor surname, doctor first line, address, postcode number, borough, mobile number, and also gender. The next one was the room, which need to include an ID and a room number and also a location. And the last one was the appointment, where I had to include an ID, a date, time, that if that appointment was attended or not, the doctor ID, the patient ID, the staff ID, and the room number. In this last section of my video, I will talk about the data consistencies I use throughout my tables. And to start with, I would like to introduce my appointment table, which is the one where I use the input mask for my date field. As you can see here, the user would be able to type in any field that is relevant to his appointment. 2016, and this day is consistent because it allows the user to type in whatever appointment he has, or doctor to type in whatever the patient has appointment date, and basically is more reliable and consistent because there would be a guarantee that there will be no mistakes whenever the user will introduce the data in, because there will be spaces to separate the date, the month, and the year. The next one would be the attended appointment, which has a drop down list. As you can see, it could be yes or no, and this is a drop down that I used as a lookup with the setting, and it will allow the user to make only two selections, so you can't type in any other option basically. The next one would be the patient. For the patient ID, the user doesn't need no data consistency, because he will need to have put in the data that he has. Basically, like his ID, it could be different, and there could be a variety of IDs. The next one would be the doctor, where I use the doctor mobile number, where I display the input mask again, because it will be easier to spot if there is any error or if he misspelled any number, so you can just check and add the number again. Also I added the validation text, which is also known as a visual prompt for the doctor mobile, so will only display numbers only. The next one would be the patient, where the user, which in this case would be the doctor, will ensure that whenever he types in the patient names, he only includes letters only, as in this validation text known as a visual prompt says. Please ensure you use only letters. So therefore the user will check if the text only has letters, and then he can move next to the next one, and also in the last name, if the user includes any numbers or anything like that, he will not be able to move to the next section, as it will say it will display the same message again. Done. The next one will be the gender, where the user could select male or female. It will be easier for the doctor to select male or female, because he will not have to type in the whole word, so this will save him time, and also it will get rid of the mistakes, as there will be two options, M from male and F from female. The next one would be the telephone number again, and as I said before, I use the input mask to allow the doctor to get rid of any errors or fix them as soon as possible. The next one is the room number, where it's two drop down list, so the user can select any room he wants to, or the main floors, which is displaying the room location, like for example the first room, main floor, etc. The last one is the staff, where I again use the same their consistencies for the staff mobile to make it consistent throughout the whole tables, and also I use for the staff bureau, I use the drop down menu, and these are the main data consistencies I use from my tables in order to make the data more reliable and easier to be spotted and easier to be inputted and outputted by the doctors. Thank you for listening.